The body, the body, the body, the body. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I am finally going to do an album review on the latest Protomartyr album, Ultimate Success Today. I know this sounds crazy, but this album is my most anticipated album of the year. And the only reason behind is that their last album, Relatives in Descent, had done so friggin' well. Relatives in Descent is just one of those albums that the more you listen to it, the more you love it. And slowly but surely, pretty much every single track is enjoyable, for me anyway. So Protomartyr is a post-punk band from Detroit, Michigan, and they have been making music for quite some time already. And I was really anticipating for this album. I always said that I was going to review this album, but I didn't, because originally this album was supposed to be released in late May, but it was delayed until July 17th, so here we are. But anyways, let's talk about Relatives in Descent for a while, okay? Let's talk about Relatives in Descent. This album is released in 2017, and it is one of my favorite albums, not only in 2017, but also in the decade. In fact, I think this is my favorite post-punk album of the 2010s, and for many reasons. I mean, this is a really solid post-punk album that perfectly balances between the very grim, the very sad, the very melancholic but yet driving post-punk to the very catchy and groovy kind of post-punk. And I mean, again, almost every single track is really enjoyable. Even the tracks that I originally didn't enjoy as much, like Corpses in Regalia, which ended up sounding great because of its killer bass line. And also tracks like Up the Tower is mad. It is insane, and the very beautiful hooks and bridges on that track just makes it so much better. The track Windsor Hum is totally overlooked, extremely underrated. The very explosive finish is magnificent. Tracks like My Children and Don't Go to Anestheta are really groovy and catchy. We have sadder moments like The Chuckler, which is very emotional and it feels very impactful as well. And speaking of impactful, the album ending, Half Sister. Oh my god, what an epic apocalyptic ending with such a beautiful twist at the end. I mean, this album is just packed with groovy bass lines, and also, as far as post-punk goes, catchy hooks, verses, and choruses. Everybody knows it's gonna kill you someday. You don't lean on a man cause you ain't got nothing to do. Don't go to Anestheta. So Relatives in Descent. It is truly a great album. But this isn't the only good album that they have come out. Previously, they have come out with The Agent Intellect, which I also think is a very underrated album in my opinion. The album opener, The Devil in His Youth, is easily one of my favorite Protomartyr songs ever. It's just this really solid, but also melancholic, bittersweet rager, basically, and it's fantastic. And tracks like Coward Starve and Pontiac 87 are also great. Clandestine Times is amazing in that it's very driving, it's very compelling of a track, even though the chord progression is just so sad and just so sort of abandoned and lonely, and the beat change in the track Why Does It Shake is really astounding and surprising, and it fits really well. And even before that, tracks like Maidenhead and Jumbos are also two very great songs from Protomartyr. So obviously I would be anticipating Ultimate Success Today really hard. And of course we have the teaser tracks, the 3 teaser tracks to this album. Then all 3 of them are great. They're all fantastic. And it appears that Protomartyr is moving towards a slightly new direction, in that they're not going to make these very muddy, melancholic, bittersweet kind of post-punk anymore. Even though I love that kind of post-punk, their new direction is also pretty great in that they are presenting more versatility, and there are tracks on this album Ultimate Success Today that are sad, dejected, dreary, but then at the same time there are tracks that are more blissful, celebratory, and it's just sort of colorful. Yeah, I guess that would be the right word. This album, Ultimate Success Today, is easily Protomartyr's most colorful and most versatile album by far. Also, the production is so much better, and the lyrics, they are one of the best things about this album, really. They are poetic, they're impactful, and they're gorgeous, honestly. And then we have the performances, the very dense layers of guitars. Alex's drumming is really tight and crisp. Joe Casey's vocal performances are very masculine, and they are just very impactful and powerful as well. And honestly, while I don't think this album is as good as Relatives in Descent, I still think it is a fantastic album after few listens. So the album starts off with Day Without End, which is an intro track only. We get these tight hi-hats, atmospheric droning guitars, and that's pretty much just it. But it's a really good tone setter, in my opinion. Also, we have lyrics that throws back to Half Sister, the closer for their previous album, where Day Without End starts off saying, no matter how hard she tried, I couldn't be reached, and she being the truth. And it's a really, really good callback to the last album. The second track, Processed by the Boys, is fantastic. It is the first lead-up single to the album, and it is this very icy, stern, cold-blooded, very rigid post-punk track. But even though it is rigid in a very good way, in that it feels very impactful, punchy, and almost calculated. Again, the guitars on this thing, they are dense, fat, thick guitars. Hell yeah. Also, the vocals, the delivery by Joe Casey is so damn muscular and powerful and loud. And the incorporation of saxophones on this track is very creative and innovative, in my opinion. The Arabic flavored bass line, it's really fantastic as well, and it fits with the rest of the track really well. And then we have the ending of the track, and of course the instrumentals swell, and they completely overshadow Joe Casey's vocals. It just buries his vocals, just many layers deep. And instead of feeling really rigid and rough and calculated, it becomes very numbing and melancholic, actually. And it's a really beautiful turn of instrumentals. And we have lyrics processed by the boys. So this song is about, the police being processed by the boys, the police. They're wearing their tidy uniforms and just arresting whoever they want, sort of breaking the law however they want. And this is the kind of song that the world really needs right now, because I feel like police brutality and the police abusing their power is a topic that is overlooked, and it's a worldwide thing. I mean, not only in Hong Kong or in the USA, it's really a worldwide thing. And also the music video, it's really great. It basically reenacts and dramatizes a specific incident in Brazilian television where the singer Nunes Filho was singing, and there was this huge fight that broke out, and he kept on singing as if nothing's happening. And it's a really, really good music video, one of my favorite of the year so far. Anyways, the third track is I Am You Now, and it's just okay. This track is really weird. It's very disjointed, it's very incoherent, and the drums, they're very irregular. They have a really irregular pattern, and it sounds like the drums are changing its tempo and pace and pattern every few seconds or so. It's really confusing. And we have Joe Casey on top, basically babbling very randomly, just shouting, yelling, and not really singing. The bass, I think it's very driving. However, the bass and the guitars on this track, they are really sparse, they are few and far between, so mostly it's just Joe singing on some drums, and it's just okay. I wasn't too crazy about this track, and I still don't think this track is all that great. We have some interesting lyrics though. I am you now, I'm better than you are, I have no face, I have no country, but I'm better than you. And it's very abstract, and I guess the lyrics is easily the best thing about this track. However, the rest of the album is pretty fantastic. We have the Aphorist, which is one of my favorite songs on the album. It is a very consistently sad song. Kind of reminds me of Radiohead's Knives Out a little bit, in that these very sad and melancholic guitars, they just completely fill up the entire duration of this track. The drums on this track, they are very driving, very compelling, and the bass on this thing is very dreary, yet kind of catchy and sticky, which is something that I really love about Protomartyr, is that their bass lines, they groove. And we have lyrics: self-doubt is a stalking friend, narcissism is a killer, and also the lyrics towards the end, they are just really thought-provoking, really poetic and gorgeous in my opinion. And also the way the tempo sort of changes a little bit, the drums, they sort of slow down and then speed up and slow down and speed up towards the end, actually makes this an even more enjoyable listen. And also the way the instrumentals become super noisy and cacophonous towards the end is just very cool. Up next, we have the track June 21st, featuring Half Wave, or her name Nadia Plunkett. And she and Joe Casey sort of has a bit of a duet on this track, and they sound really good. They have a lot of chemistry together, and when they sing that hook, it sounds eerie, it sounds uncertain, it sounds ambiguous, and I really like that. It's very haunting, actually. Also, once again, the bass and the drums, they are very driving, very engaging, and they keep you on the edge of your seat throughout the entire time when you're listening to this song, if you're sitting down, I guess. And there are some louder bits on this track, which sounds like it came out of a different song, because it doesn't success the very ambiguous, uncertain feel that the verses and the hooks have, but still they flow very nicely with the verses. And also the way the song ends off, the last minute of the track is this very drony bit where all the guitars just melt down, and it just sounds really cool. Again, lyrics. The lyrics, they are definitely a highlight. They describe the city in a very strange way, describing short stops and green flashing lights, and also a yellow zephyr behind the garage. It's all very abstract, and I love it. Anyways, Michigan Hammer. Yes, 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 yes. Michigan Hammers. What a fantastic track. Flowery, springy, blissful, colorful guitars just blasting in high speed. And then we get these very tight drums, tight hi-hats, very crisply crawling underneath the guitars. Very beautiful instrumental composition, first of all. And also the vocals, if you ask some random singer to sing these vocals for this track, it wouldn't work. It would sound awkward because of how it changes tempo and tone. But for someone like Joe Casey to sing it, it actually works. And the saxophones and the guitars, the way they sync up, really fantastic. And the music video is also really interesting, where they sort of use these stock videos to create and reconstruct basically the plot to RoboCop. And it's hilarious, not gonna lie, it's hilarious. But overall, fantastic track. The track Tranquilizer, I'm not a huge fan of it, in that I think it has one of the weaker structures and composition on the album, but sonically it still sounds very interesting. I mean, it starts out really quiet, cricket sounds, nothing special, and then we get these very heavy, noisy, distorted bass, and also Joe Casey's vocals are also heavily processed as well, and he keeps on repeating, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain again, under the tongue, dissolve, unlock the pain, and he sort of keeps on repeating these words, and it's just sort of punching into our heads. And obviously this track is called Tranquilizer, so obviously this track is about painkillers, some sort of pills. You take it and it relieves the pain, and it sort of masks the pain. Instead of dealing with the pain ourselves, it just sort of masks the pain. And I guess this track is just kind of about the the prescripted society, the prescripted, over-prescripted society. Kind of reminds me of the track Toxicity by System of a Down. Also, the climaxes on this track, they're very loud, chaotic, noisy, scary, and the verses, while they're very sparse, I do really enjoy the clarinet being involved on the track. You'd think that on a very noisy, heavy post-punk track, you'd not hear clarinets, but here we are. Anyways, Modern Business Hints, one of the highlights on the album, and this track is a very solid, consistent, blissful track. The guitars, they're very blissful, they're very joyous and springy, but I guess this is the result of the Tranquilizers from the previous track, because the first line on this track being the tranks had hit, and for the first half of the song, the lyrics deal with going to space, jumping to Mars, going all over the place. But towards the end, it's almost like whoever took those tranquilizers woke up from this spacey dream and start to realize how depressing life is and how broken the world is, with lyrics like "Dream of a screaming death, silence in a vacuum, what a way to die." Also the ending, which is fantastic. It slows down, it becomes very cumbersome and loud. The past is full of dead men, the future is cruelty, resign yourself. But yeah, overall, fantastic track. The penultimate track would go to Bridge and Crown, which is a track in 6/8 time signature, and it appears that this track describes a hospital. And we have lyrics like, "Everybody knows we're holding on to little dreams to drive our bodies all down the line till there's nothing left." Yeah, again, very dense layers of guitars towards the second half, which are beautiful, gorgeous. Even though the first half is not really all that, all that crazy, not all that outstanding. The second half with the very life-affirming guitars, certainly fantastic. And we also have the vocal delivery, which almost sounds kind of circusy and jazzy, and the way the guitars, they sort of swing around in a very toxic way, pretty fantastic. However, what really blew my mind on this album is the album ending, "Worm in Heaven." This ending is phenomenal, okay? And this track is a very mellow, sad song about finality, about saying goodbye, about mortality even, with the first lines being, "I'm not too keen on last words," and the rest of the song sort of about, last words, saying goodbye. And yeah, at first we get these very easygoing guitars. I believe there are saxophones as well, and also amazing singing by Joe Casey. Easily the best singing performance Joe Casey had done, and it's beautiful. And the way it sort of builds up towards the end, it becomes louder and louder. It sort of slowly arrives at its very dramatic climax, and it becomes very life-affirming in that, yeah, at first, death, it's sad, it's full of shame, it's full of regret, but at the very, very, very end, you are relieved. You feel like you're finally free from the hellish life that you have, even though, yeah, there are many regrets in life, but at the end of the day, maybe death is a good thing. Maybe death is liberty, or at least that's how I interpret the ending of the track, because it's really phenomenal. Also, I believe that some guitar riffs, or at least the chords from Processed by the Boys, are also incorporated into the ending of this track, and it just makes us so bright and relieved all of a sudden, and it is just phenomenal. Very cinematic too. So yeah, overall, great album. What can I say? I don't think this album topped Relatives in Descent. I still prefer Relatives in Descent more than this one, but I think this is a great album as well, and no one can persuade me otherwise. My favorite track here is Worm in Heaven, and my least favorite track here is I Am You Now. I am giving Protomartyr's ultimate success today a strong 8 to a light 9 out of 10. So, have you listened to Protomartyr's Ultimate Success Today? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. I will be reviewing Nicholas Jar very soon. Oh, also, I forgot to mention one thing. The band Protomartyr, they are having a very dire situation financially right now. So if you can, please buy some merch from them. Please buy some vinyls from them.